Hey Renzo, Daphne here. How are you? Really good to hear from you again. Thanks for working so hard through your essays. I am really impressed by the progress you're making and how committed you are. Really, really good work here. I am very happy to offer you a discount on a 20 essay pack. Wow, and it'd be good fun to keep on working with you. I have forwarded your request up to Ben and Nadine, and I'm sure, well, basically I've asked them to get back to you, okay, because this is sort of their department, not mine, but I have passed on your request, and I would love to carry on with you, okay. Here we go, green essay. This is a really good opportunity to use some fantastic vocabulary. There's so much discussion about all this at the moment, isn't there? And this gives us the opportunity to show all our lovely vocabulary. So experts related to economics, politics and environmental protection, yes, have debated whether the implementation of green energy could significantly reduce households' energy consumption or present a potential risk to safeguard policies' energy. Okay, now green energy, you need policies because you can't really implement green energy. You need to implement green energy policies, so which is lovely, could significantly raise households' energy consumption or represent a potential risk to safeguarding. I wouldn't put policy there because I've just stolen policy. So safeguarding energy supplies, because this is what they mean by security. It's like, will it be enough? I personally believe that clean energy sources bring many benefits. Don't use a lot of, it's not academic. Many benefits to society and families. This essay will discuss both sides. You could say both sides, or maybe for this essay, key issues. I quite like that sometimes. Mix it up a bit. Using examples from Australia. Yeah, okay, fantastic. What a good intro here. What I really like, Renzo, is that you obviously totally understand the question, which is fantastic, and you are showing me immediately, I get the question, I'm totally on it, and I'm going to show you what I mean. Okay, really strong intro. Well done. On the one hand, there's ample evidence for favouring the consumption of green energy in both developing and developed nations. Okay, I wouldn't say necessarily the consumption, for favouring the like we need to kind of encourage it, favouring the preference. Preference and consumption of. So like if I have a choice, I'm going to have an electric car, that kind of thing. So favouring or oh, what's the word I want? Incentivizing. So favouring or incentivizing the preference and consumption of green energy in both developing and developed natures. So what I'm trying to say is making sure we make that choice. The central reason behind this is twofold. Firstly, young families who are constantly, it's particularly these ones you're referring to, so you need to go into a relative clause, who are constantly struggling with the high cost of energy, such as, yeah. Now, because I've changed it into a relative clause, we need to just slightly restructure this. Could, comma, with the use of solar panels, other way around, solar panels. Again, you need another modal verb, may or might, greatly reduce the cost of energy consumption. Good. We wouldn't decrease the cost, we would reduce the cost. So let me just run you through that again. Okay, so firstly, young families who, because you're particularly referring back to them, so you need a relative clause structure, who are continually struggling with the high cost of energy, such as, yes, good. So young families basically could, with the use of solar panels, you don't actually need that. Sorry, my fault here. Because we put the verb in here, could greatly reduce the cost of their energy consumption. I hope you understand that. Basically, firstly, young families could, and so you've got two relative clauses in here. You've got one relative clause and then one reduced relative clause. So amazing grammar. Love it, love it, love it. Secondly, both governmental authorities and scientists agree that the promotion of electric cars could. So I know will, but let's go for could because it's just a bit more academic. Curb carbon emissions, well done, to zero by 2025. Okay, now curb is reduce. Okay, so you're basically saying wipe out. So maybe just go, for the sake of this beautiful word, keeping this in here, to 5%, maybe. If you go, I don't think you can curb to zero. You can curb to 5, but it's a lovely word. This pragmatic approach is beneficial to our environment and the well-being of society. For example, recent political policies. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm not sure about political policies. Political suggestions, political laws, political decisions, maybe, by the Australian government, Australian it should be, show that the majority of households have installed solar panels by using incentives. Okay, I would say when encouraged to, or encouraged or incentivized to, incentivized to, and then you need to and by the local government. Okay, good. Therefore, it's possible to state beyond doubt that the use of green energy sources will bring several positive benefits to families, just spelling their budgets, and solve the problem of the environmental issue. Maybe help solve the problem. Okay, very, very nice paragraph there. I love how you've developed it. I really love this complex sentence in here, and I especially like your vocabulary. You've got a lot of really good collocations going on here. Collocations, words which naturally sit together. So pragmatic approach, majority of households, just watch solar panels, other way around. You've got a lot of super confident vocab in here, very high level, good work. On the other hand, although there's a case to be made for electric car, solar panels and wind energy, positive contribution to our, I don't want to repeat environment, contributing to, we need to a better future. Maybe just simple as that. The impact of safeguarding energy cannot be overstated. Good. This is due to the fact that several mechanisms should be put in place to diminish environmental hazards. Okay. The impact of a safe energy. So, not safeguard here, a safe energy future. I had future. The impact of safe energy. Okay, let's go safeguarding. Safeguarding energy supplies and preventing accidents. So it's one thing we've got to look after the supplies, and there's another thing we've got to avoid the accidents. Okay, so we'll just clarify that slightly, which also connects you back to the question, because don't forget we need to talk about energy security, which you are, but let's make sure the examiner knows. Okay, here we are. We're talking about accident security. Okay, this is due to the fact that several mechanisms should be put in place to avoid environmental hazards. Yes, for example, recent research by Queensland, hazards such as, just tell me a little bit what that might be. Only 20% of households in Australia ignore. Now only 20% of them ignore. That's pretty good. If 20% of them use it, I think maybe that's what you mean. So this might be just you translated it from your language. So ignorer in French is don't know. So it could be that they don't know. In English, ignores mean that you don't care. You're not looking at it. So this could be just a mistranslation. Either follow. For me, you should have follow. Follow the safety procedure, such as the risk of of overusing ing electric cars on long distance travel. Okay, risk of using electric cars on long distance travel. Consistent with this line of thinking, comma, our authorities should encourage citizens. Now instead of should, you've got should quite a lot. Maybe you have could or might will also work there. Encourage citizens to use green energy sources with responsibility and precautions to minimize the potential risks. And then you don't need can cause, just risks to our environment. Yeah, I think for me you need to explain a little bit more what these risks might be, okay? You know, are they going to blow up, these cars? Are they going to not work anymore? A little bit more on what these risks might be, okay? So just so you're absolutely on the question. Obviously, an example which a lot of people use is with wind energy. Yes, fine, but what happens when it's not windy? Solar energy, fine, but what happens when it's not sunny? Obviously, the supply is reduced. So maybe just think about that in that little paragraph there. To conclude from the examples and arguments given, I firmly believe that individuals and societies, we would say businesses here, should be fully aware of the benefits of green energy and follow. So you're in a modal verb structure, so should be aware and should therefore follow infinitive safety procedures. In the future, the use of clean energy will continue to grow in importance and should be fully fully encouraged and investigated, no, and endorsed. Okay. Really, really nice essay, Renzo. Fantastic. That is very high level. There is so much good stuff in there. Just watch out on that little paragraph there. I think that could do with a tiny bit more, just maybe a couple more sentences. But you've argued very well, and there's a lot of very, very good vocabulary in there. Really impressive. This is my favourite question. A lot of people hate this. I love this question. I like the picture. Okay, the two maps show, I wouldn't say show the before and after, I would say the changes or the development or the redevelopment, or maybe not redevelopment, but the, development and transformation is a good word, of a small area of development surrounded by vegetation and water. Okay, it's an island, basically. I mean, we can say island. So I would say the two maps show the development and development and what do we just say? Construction in a small island which was previously uninhabited. Really important. Okay. Overall, there was a significant amount of construction. We don't know how many years. So overall, a significant amount of construction took place. And the uninhabited island or the deserted island was transformed into a holiday resort. And you have to make a guess, an intelligent guess, that this is a holiday resort. And I'll tell you why. One, it's obviously an island because it's surrounded by the sea and there's a beach. Two, it is really, really small. So this, don't ignore this. This is very, very important. This gives you a really strong indication that this is a beautiful little island. Wow, love to go there. It's got maybe a central hotel building, a reception area, little accommodations, maybe, I don't know, whatever, something. But I mean, some other things connected to the hotel. It's got a lake, maybe a bit of shopping or something like that. You can do some sailing. And note, obviously, traffic. There's no traffic. There's literally a track, maybe like a little buggy to get from place to place. Show the examiner you've looked at the map and you have taken that on board. Yeah. Looking at the details, okay, the majority of housing accommodation was built. So yes, you're right to use a passive here, but you should be using a past passive. Was built. It's finished. And the eastern and western what? Shores or areas, yeah. The new housing or reception building. So be brave, yeah. If it's not a hotel, it doesn't matter, but be brave and just say I think it is a hotel, so I'm going to back myself, we say, and I'm going to go for it. The new housing and reception building in the east were connected by using a circular footpath, whereas in the west there is no evidence of footpath being used. Okay, yeah, that's fine. So go into a little bit more detail about what happened before. So there was a few trees that were removed. Okay, so you could say the new housing and reception buildings reception buildings I want to say constructed reception building in the east were connected by using a circular path, whereas in the west there's no evidence of in place of a woodland area, a new housing, okay, a new housing or reception building was okay, I'm going to use built actually, built and reception block, so let's just change that, was built in the east. Okay, so I would take out that. It was built in the east, and these are now connected, because you can go into the present tense now, because this is what they're doing now, present passive. These are now connected by using a circular footpath, whereas in the west there's no evidence of footpath being used. Okay, residents from the west now have direct access to the beach. Not whereas. Whereas suggests a contrast. There's no contrast. And additionally, an artificial lake has been, I'm going to use here, has been, because they might build another lake in the future. This is this really subtle difference between the past simple and the present perfect. Has been, I'm not going to use built because I've used that before, has been dug, literally, and only a few trees are now left in the east. So we're moving tenses a lot, which is part of the skill in this question. So you can see we're using the passive voice a lot. Sometimes we're using the past passive because that was built. Okay. Yeah, for me that's more naturally past simple, and this is past and passive, and this is more naturally present perfect, the lake bit. But as long as you're using the passive voice, that's the most important thing. Now, a small town. I don't think it's not a small town. So let's go to the development. Let's just change these words around. The development of further accommodation blocks has taken place in the center of the island, and these are connected. You've had connected before, you had connected there. These are linked, so you could say maybe these are linked. So rather than using connected, linked here by using a vehicle, track and footpath. Okay, in addition, yeah, I would stop talking about connections. So I would say in addition, yeah, a pier has been added to the south of the island. So accommodation blocks on the western side. It's very important you use the geography here. To the south of the island, a pier has been built in order to allow for leisure facilities. The upgrade of aquatic sports in the south. The beach remained the same as the the beach in the west was not changed. So you've done it, it's okay, you've done pretty well on this, because I know this is a difficult task and it could be you're not really familiar with this. The main thing we're looking out for here is the use of passive voice, which you've got. But for me, you need to kind of be brave and say, this is tourist. It's a really small thing. So here, overall, on this very small, previously uninhabited island, you need to make a bit more comment in here, which I think will help. I'm just going to add in another essay for you to have a look at, just to give you an example of this. Hang on. Okay, so I'm not saying this is perfect, but this is an example of another student's essay, which I thought was pretty good. And what they've done is they've firmly said it is a tourist island. And I think that helps give them a bit more structure. Well done, Renzo. Really good work. I'm sorry this correction is super long. How boring for you. Thank you. Well done.